Chapter 5. The Colourful Garden. Once there was a king who had a spectacular castle surrounded by a magnificent garden. There lived thousands of beautiful and charming birds in those gardens, turning the castle into a paradise. There was only one thing that the king detested. It was a very huge tree that had now become very broad at its base and occupied a lot of space. It stood in the center of the garden and ruined its beauty. This upset the king so much that he finally ordered it to be cut down and replaced with attractive garden fountains. A few months later, the king realized that there were hardly any animals and birds to be seen in the garden. Without wasting time, he sent for his ministers and asked for their opinion. No one was able to solve the root of the problem. Soon, a boy presented himself before the king. He declared that he could explain what had happened.
Your Majesty, the animals and birds abandoned your gardens because you cut down the huge tree.
He started elaborating how the garden's big animals fed mostly on the little rodents and birds. The birds fed themselves on small insects, whose nourishment were the species of plants and flowers that thrived in the garden. Now that the tree was no more, the animals had lost their shelter, as well as their food.
And can you tell me how you know all these things, being so young?
Asked the king. The boy answered,
I know this because now all the beautiful bees, birds, and animals from your garden are residing in mine. A huge tree stands in my garden. It is thronged by insects and rodents, which attract the birds, and tiny plants grow in its shade, providing food for other fauna. So, our old home is filled with life and color. Excellent,
yelled the king.
Now I can improve my garden. And you, boy, I will make you rich. I'm sure that within a week, everything will be prepared. Use as many workers as you need. I want a huge tree to be planted in the middle of the garden. Your Majesty, I'm afraid that cannot be possible,
said the boy sadly.
If you want, I can try to reconstruct the garden, but you will not live to see it. It will take many years for the natural balance to regenerate itself. With great good luck, maybe, your grandchildren will see it thriving as before when they are old. Things like these do not depend on how many men work on them.
The old king turned miserable and pensive as he understood how delicate the balance of nature was, and how thoughtless he had been when he ordered the tree to be cut. But he loved to walk amidst nature and observe birds and beasts alike. He requested the boy to let him build a castle next to his land and come to live with him. The boy gladly agreed, and thousands of men started working on the construction of an expansive castle, which was completed in a short time. The king shifted in his new castle along with the boy and enjoyed the company of birds and animals every single day. Thereafter, he planted several trees in his kingdom for the future generations.